Heads up, everybody. I'm B. Francis Clark.
And I'm Anton Anderson.
All right, so let's jump right into it. I have a list of 5 things.
Hold on. This is Sky is Black. Keep going.
That'll work. So I have a list of 5 things that I believe the Pan-African diaspora can do on an individual basis, on an individual level, to push us forward collectively into the future that we want to see for ourselves.
All right, I'm taking notes.
Now, why is this important? It is important because if we don't build our future, somebody else is going to build our future for us.
True.
And you and I know good and damn well that we don't want to be in the dungeon of somebody else's dream.
No.
So we have to be deliberate and proactive. So I'm going to list the 5 things, and then we'll talk about them so you can tell me if you think these ideas are fruitful or if they're coming from the lunatic fringe.
Okay.
All right. So number 1, support global black businesses.
Okay.
Number 2, establish a foothold in Africa. Number 3, have our children learn an African language. Number 4, support and sustain future-facing storytelling. And 5, pursue personal wellness. Again, this is in no particular order. These are just 5 things, and it's not an exhaustive list, but it's something that we can talk about for today. So again, the first one, support global black businesses, and the key word there is global. So how do you think, or actually do you think, this actually moves us forward in any way into the future that we want to see for ourselves?
100%. I mean, I think that...
Not 110? Not even 110?
Listen, my dial, for some people it goes to 11. My dial goes to 100, and it kind of like clicks right there.
Okay.
But I think having that emphasis on global does a couple of things. One, it helps remind all of us, for those of us who are in America in particular, that there is a global black diaspora.
Oh, yes, there is.
And quite frankly, there are some amazing things that are produced in Africa. They're just beautiful. As an example, I have these knit baskets that are on my kitchen counter that I hold for fruit and things like that, and they're made in Rwanda, and they were gifts, so I didn't actually buy them, but someone else did.
And I think we saw an example of that in one of our previous episodes when we were doing our air fryer episode.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Ghetto Gastro,
so
stand up.
Go back to that, and you'll see one of those as an example. But the point is that you can have beautiful things in your home. You can do what you're normally doing, and yet also support small businesses. And quite frankly, as much as we're all struggling, here, some of these other countries are struggling more. And so, you spending your dollar, especially if you can buy direct, dear listener, versus going through, no haterade against like Pier 1 or things like that. But if you can go direct and buy directly from the manufacturer, because of the internet and everything else, you can now go or at least get closer to the source.
Yes.
I think that your dollars go further.
True.
And so the answer is yes. And if we can encourage and help sustain and support these global businesses, many of these businesses are small businesses. One, it's better for the community because there's not going out to some diffuse shareholder that's just extracting value, extracting money, not necessarily adding value in many cases. But also, you're able to show some support. So, yes.
Well, like you said, we have been talking about this for a long time.
From the beginning.
Right. So this is another year of Ujamaa for us.
Every year is the year of Ujamaa.
Every year is the year of Ujamaa. Of course, for those of you who don't know, Ujamaa means cooperative economics in Swahili. So definitely check out that podcast if you haven't already. But even so far on this video podcast, and I still don't know who is watching this thing.
Aren't you all watching?
So
you're here, right?
If you are here, please do like, share, and subscribe so that we never have to say that again. Please do.
And if you're just audio, that's okay too. But come on a video. We got some things to show you.
Indeed, indeed. So even in the short time that we've been doing the video podcast, We've talked about a variety of companies already, even global ones. So we talked about Tefftastic snacks.
Really good.
We talked about Lovegrass. Those are 2 companies from Ethiopia. We've also talked about Supplement, where culture meets hydration.
And they're out of Chicago, I believe.
I don't know where they're from.
I think they're somewhere in the Midwest.
I know it's an American company.
Yeah, American company.
But black-owned American company. Supplement. We've talked about ActivelyBlack.com. I'm not wearing their hat today, but great company. We've talked about Ghetto Gastro, which I just mentioned a second ago. Their Pop-Tarts and the air fryer that they make.
Right.
We've talked about Dozen Cousins. We've talked about Real Paper.
Available at Costco, Dozen Cousins these days. So, I mean, so just to be clear, I'm not saying, especially as you're trying some of these things out, in particular for consumables, try them out. Go to Target, get the Real Paper from Target. Go to either Whole Foods or Costco for Dozen Cousins. Try it out. See if you like it. Odds are you will, and then subscribe direct. Because then there's those middlemen who take their cut. Even Amazon, imagine that, take their cut. But that way go direct. More of the dollars stay within the company, allows them to grow and do better, everything else.
Yes. So this is not something that we just believe in. This is something that we actually practice.
Yes.
And in that spirit, I have something for us.
Did you bring snacks?
I did not bring any snacks.
Oh, okay.
But I did bring something.
He brought me a roll of bubble wrap, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes, indeed. Yeah. Bubble wrap in effect.
Bubble wrap in effect. Lots of bubble wrap. So this is... All right, so I'm not sure which camera to put this on, but this is Emblem Spicy Cajun Olive Oil.
That is how we do it.
I love it. And so Chastity Pritchett is the owner and founder, and it says here on the bottle that I started Emblem to bring the health benefit and exquisite flavor of olive oil to every dinner table. I wanted to build a brand that connected with every customer to encourage healthier eating and cooking. Emblem represents health, prosperity, and God's favor over your life.
Amen.
Amen. So emblemoil.com, spicy Cajun olive oil, and it's has virgin olive oil in it, Cajun spice blend oil. All right, bottled in the U.S. What's exciting?
Sounds delish.
It does sound delicious, and we will use this. I think I was out of town for a little bit, and so now I'm back home, back on deck for doing some cooking, and I think we will try this with some shrimp. That's what I always like to, usually if I'm using olive oil, it's usually because I'm cooking shrimp, some fried shrimp, something like that, lightly grilled shrimp, and so, yeah, we'll try it.
So that is not the only flavor that she has.
Okay.
So she does traditional extra virgin olive oil, also lemon, roasted garlic. So she was sold out, unfortunately, of a couple of different flavors. But that is the one that, even if everything was available, that is the one that I was going to get anyway.
Listen, I like my food. Can I keep this? You gave it to me, as my father would say, possession's 9/10 of the law. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's over here. So we will discuss that off camera. So we'll see. Because maybe what I'll do, maybe I'll cook up some of that shrimp and I'll bring you some.
There we go.
And we'll keep the bottle. Keep the bottle.
There we go. So, also have another update too. So, in the last episode or one of the previous episodes, I said that I was no longer going to purchase or use any lotion that was not made from a black-owned company.
And you look good.
Yes, indeed. Look good, feel good.
Moisturized.
Indeed, very moisturized. And obviously, there was very good reason for me coming to that particular position.
Yeah.
Because we, as people of African descent, should not allow non-black-owned companies to reap any profit off of our black bodies. It just doesn't make any sense. Trillions of dollars in today's money, I think, is enough. It's like, okay, you folks have done very well off the wholesale exploitation of black people and black bodies. And so to me, enough is enough. So in that last episode, I talked about lotion specifically.
Right.
And I didn't mention at the time specifically and intentionally the fact that this is going to apply to my entire body eventually. So I only talked about lotion in that last episode.
Okay.
I didn't also want to talk about soap and shampoo and all the other things because that probably would have sounded like the ravings and ramblings of a madman.
I mean, as long as you're not doing it on video and showing us your application of it, I mean, that's a whole different.
That is true.
That's a whole different market segment.
That,
You know,
that is true. That is true. So I'm going beyond just the lotion. But I did want to share with you and share with our viewers what I ended up actually getting.
Okay.
So I went to Target. It's like, what is a black-owned lotion that is available in the store? And this is what
the great reveal.
This is what they had. So this
Shea
is
Moisture.
the Shea Moisture.
All right. So Shea Moisture. I love it.
Yeah, so this is Shea Moisture Daily Hydration Body Lotion, coconut milk, and acacia Senegal. That's how we get it done right there.
We're going to see how, I mean, I'll admit I came over here and I was probably a little ashy with my colonizer lotion. Or just skipping it because I was in a rush. It smells good.
So it definitely has that sort of coconut scent right there. Off camera, we were talking about the Boston Celtics winning their 18th NBA championship.
I'm not hating against them.
In basketball, they talk about somebody who scores a lot and does very well offensively. They will say that person is a walking bucket.
Right.
I am a walking pina colada with this right here, with that coconut scent right there. I'm a walking pina colada.
I mean, I already feel like, I feel good. I mean,
Yes.
it was very smooth and it had a nice, nice feel to it.
Yes.
And now the question is,
Questions?
did you buy this at Target? Did you walk into a Target store?
Well, I had to bring it to the car. I had to bring it to the car, but yeah.
Oh, no, you had to actually, so you walked in. It's 2024. You actually walked, you didn't do curbside pickup?
No, I'm saying I did do curbside pickup. I'm saying I had it brought to the car.
Oh, you had brought to the car. Okay.
Yeah.
I was like, wait a minute. I'm like, curbside pickup is
Yes.
I mean,
So yeah, I did the curbside pickup.
that way, ladies and gentlemen, you can have the podcast on, listening to it.
Yes.
While you're picking up your stuff from Target.
There we go.
See,
There you go.
This is how you keep it going. So you got it. So but my point is, you didn't order it online. So they actually had it in stock.
They had it in stock. Yeah.
See, that's good. And the reason I was bringing that up is that part of the reason you might say, well, Anton, weren't you just talking about subscribing and all that and going direct to the consumer?
And we will.
If that's not your jam, if that's not your thing, you're like, well, I don't need a case or I don't want to do these standing orders, then truly do order it from Target. All these places, whether we're talking about Walmart or Target or local grocery stores, they all kind of moneyball their stocking on the shelves. And so if you order it, and actually for certain things, I actually do make a point of, this will sound silly, but for dear listener, dear viewer, actually at my local grocery store, which is Ralph's, every time they have grits in stock, I get it. Even if I don't need it, even if we have, I mean, we go through it. We're talking like Quaker instant grits, like no big deal. But part of it is because my kids will eat their body weight in grits, so it's a good thing.
As they should.
It's never a problem to have grits in the house. But also, I like the idea of having grits on the shelves for, all right, for those of you who are in Southern California, this is the Ralphs in La Cañada. So I'll let you look up the demographics of La Cañada. But
Won't take long.
won't take long, and you won't find a lot of variation. But I like the idea, shamelessly, of doing my little part, just me, to have grits stocked on the shelves, because then maybe someone might try it. Someone might have their thing, and it'll be good business for Ralph, so good for them and their shareholders. And two, also maybe expand someone's mind. Maybe they'll be out of this and they're like, oh, maybe try this thing. And because the thing is that when you try it and you're like, grit, these are delicious. Now I understand what these people are talking about, And so I'll admit it's my own little subversive thing.
Well, I am looking forward to my shrimp and grits that you're going to be making with this olive oil.
Yeah, but that I will actually, it might be shrimp and fonio or something.
Whatever it takes. All right, so this is another thing that I discovered in the process of just sort of looking up black-owned lotions.
Right.
And this is something I'm probably going to give to my daughters. So this is a company called Hana Hana Beauty. This is shea body butter that comes from Ghana.
All right.
So this is a Ghanaian company. Matter of fact, you can take a look at that.
Can I open and smell it?
You can. I haven't opened it up and smelled it, but
that smells good. I'm not going to break the seal on it, but you can smell it, through the thing.
So hopefully my daughters will enjoy that right there.
And it's Ghanaian harvested.
Yes.
And they have a QR code on here to see why we pay 2 times the asking price for raw shea butter. Mm-hmm. We'll come back to you. We'll do a follow-up, dear listener, because we'll look that up. But it's hanahanabeauty.com. Mm-hmm. That's HANA beauty.com. And it's made in the U.S., but with global ingredients. And I don't know why. Like when you see something, dear listener, about how like the meat of something jumps out at you. Mm-hmm. So like they had all kinds of other things on here. And the first thing that jumped onto me, because I'm an entrepreneur, like, find out why we paid 2 times. I was like, paid what? How's that? And then as I'm spinning the label around, it's like made for ashy skin. And I was like, okay, those are the 2 things jumping out. I'm like, okay, now we know, there's all kinds of things on this label, but the 2 that jumped out at me. So I won't take this from your daughters because your daughters are lovely, so I'm not going to keep jacking you for all your stuff. But Hana Hana Beauty.
Yes, hanahanabeauty.com. Again, just philosophically speaking, why would I, when this is available, why would I purchase something else when this sister right here needs the support?
And where did you get that again?
Directly from the company.
And did you have to buy a case of it, or could you buy one off?
I was just able to buy this single one-off right here.
Okay.
So happy about that. So
$100 in shipping?
Closer to 1,000, but
okay.
We're making a statement here about supporting global black businesses, and so we did so. And again, Hana Hana Beauty, and hopefully it is all that it's cracked up to be and more. And there's one more thing.
One more thing.
In terms of sort of an update. So I said that I'm starting off with doing lotions from black-owned companies.
Right.
I also need to do deodorant as well, and so I found this one.
Play Pits King, natural paraben-free body deodorant.
I think it's Kang, Kang, K-A-N-G.
It's the black use of the.
But anyways,
vowel I. Have you used this already?
I have not.
Okay, because I don't want to stick my nose up in there.
No, and that is the reason why I haven't used it yet. So that is King deodorant. Shout out to my Kings of 30 brother, JB.
Okay, it's nice.
See, we'll check this out. See what this is talking about. See if this matches my overall pina colada vibe that I got going on. I think so.
All right, so this has sandalwood and bourbon, which not too shabby. Mm-hmm. And everyone deserves the royal treatment. Play Pit's King deodorant was designed for just that. Smooth and alluring scent of bourbon, blend of bourbon and sandalwood will leave you smiling and divine throughout the day. I love it. Mm-hmm. All right.
So this was founded by Chantel Powell, and it was inspired by her son, Cam Powell. And so this is actually primarily a children's-focused deodorant brand, Play Pits. And so it's primarily for children. So this is what they say about themselves. So Play Pits started out as a mother's solution to providing a kid-friendly, all-natural hygiene option for children with active lifestyles. Play Pits has now grown to a trusted hygiene solution for the entire family, offering products for teens, parents, and, of course, young athletes everywhere. So that is what they have evolved into. And so I was initially looking at it for a solution for my children, and then just happened to see on there that they had something for adult males as well, and said, okay, well, let's give this a shot here.
I love one of their taglines is "Stay funk-free under the sun."
There you go. Keeping it real. Yes.
Well, as someone who has a boy, he's 8, so the funk hasn't kicked in yet. But I know it's coming. The funk is coming. So I will have to look into this.
Yes.
I'm excited about it.
Yes, me too. So we will get that deodorant into the rotation and see what that is talking about. So plenty of other solutions out there, but this gets us on our way. All right, so item number 2 on our list of 5 things that can potentially move us forward collectively as a people into the future that we want to see is establish a foothold in Africa. And this is what I mean by
more about that.
But a foothold in Africa. So to me, this is purchasing a home or land in Africa, if you're part of the global diaspora, or starting a business that serves and benefits the continent and the diaspora, or investing in a African startup or a black-owned Africa-based enterprise that is already in motion already. So one of those 3 things to me is how we might establish a foothold in Africa. So your thoughts on that? Does that actually move us forward, or again, am I on the lunatic fringe for thinking that it might?
I don't think so. I think it's a good idea. I mean, I remember I saw, as I was going on Instagram, there was a group called OneAfricaProperties.com, and what was interesting about them is that they had, because just to back up, you can go to any real estate website and punch in Africa and find like these luxurious estates for millions of dollars available.
And not always millions, though. That's the thing.
But what was interesting was that, One Africa had listings in Ghana, Gambia, Tanzania, Nigeria, and I think they also work on South Africa, but just a certain limited number of countries there. But African owned. They're actually hiring. So if you're down there, where are they based? They're based in I think they're in Ghana, their headquarters. So if you're inclined toward real estate, but also I think that, and we talked about this a little bit when we were talking about Africa Town. We talked about this when we were talking about a lot of other things in terms of creating a space for us to just be.
Cherbourg Island.
Yeah.
Other places, yes.
And so the idea of owning property is very appealing to me. I think that owning or investing in a business goes back to supporting black businesses. To me, that goes back up to your first point. But I think that,
But I'm talking about still sort of having an economic sort of foothold with a African-based company.
No, I get it.
Or startup.
I get it.
Yeah.
No, I mean, sure, yes.
Yeah.
I mean, to me,
but they're connected.
To me, investing in a black business that's based in Africa specifically, to me, that comes under the category of supporting a black business globally.
Fair enough.
That's just my opinion.
Fair enough.
When I think when you first said establishing a foothold, I was thinking actually like owning a piece of the action, physically, whether it be a vacation home. And my thought, and this is where I'm coming from, this is what your idea inspired in me, is that maybe, because Gambia is on the coast, right? It's nice, it's tropical, so it's going to be warm, the weather's going to be good. And so maybe, get your beach house there.
For sure.
Or maybe get like a condo that's near the beach. I mean, I haven't looked up the actual locations of these things, but I mean, some of their listings, they have seaside apartments starting at $102,000, which, at least in the American real estate market, is considered pretty reasonable.
A couple years rent, really.
A couple of weeks in LA. But my point is, though, and so just even cruising that website for that particular listing, it's been on for a little bit. So 2 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, and it's right there, overlooking the ocean, has a built-in pool, and has some other nice things, and $102,000. So swimming pool with an on-site restaurant, security, laundry service, and manage. And they have 1 and 2 bathroom units. The 1 and 2 bedroom units. 1 bedroom units are 102. 2 bedroom units are 160. And those are for the main ones. And they kind of top out at 185. Current, it's 2024 money.
Love it.
But that's all very reasonable relative to if you wanted to buy, a house, a vacation home, some like in France or something. And and you're supporting the local economy. I mean, I remember very clearly when we bought our house that we live in now, you know, all the things we had to buy to outfit the house and all those things. But because it's a vacation home, maybe you Airbnb it, maybe you do other things with it. So that way it goes from just being something you own, which actually real estate, especially if you live there full time, is considered more of a liability than an asset. But if you have something that you can then rent out and generate income with it, it's an asset and it's physical property, which then takes you down the path towards generational wealth. You can pass the property on, you know. And then one last thing, if you are building up, you know, the vacation market, the tourism market, those are huge businesses. And they are, generally speaking, you know, they're resistant to some of the fluctuations in the market because people still want to take their break, especially at the higher end. And so I think it's a great thing to look into.
Yes, and yes. By 2050, the population in Africa is expected to double. So in 2050, literally 1 out of 4 people will be living in Africa. Definitely in the past, I've talked about a number of Black-owned tourism companies. And the one that I want to bring up today is one that we've talked about before, and that is Traverse, Traverze, Traverse Culture. You can find them online at tverze.com, tverze.com. And so they are definitely a travel and tourism company, but they actually do so much more than that.
Well, they actually promote. You can invest in certain aspects of it, right?
Yes, and we're going to have the founder of Traverse on the show sometime soon to talk about some opportunities that are emerging in Kenya. But they also promote something that they call Afrocentric regenerative travel.
Okay.
Afrocentric regenerative travel. Infinite Sankofaism ain't got nothing on that.
Tell me about it.
So Afrocentric regenerative travel centers on African and diaspora cultures, emphasizing sustainability, social justice, and cultural exchange. It fosters respect, honors local traditions, and supports communities by engaging with them, backing local businesses, and participating in cultural events. It promotes cultural understanding, appreciation, and meaningful connections between people of diverse backgrounds. Now, to me, what could be more on point than that? I will answer that for you. The answer is nothing.
I love it.
Nothing could be more on point than that. I absolutely love what they are doing. I am all about it. Not just 100, 110. 110. So, and something else that they say too. So, beyond travel, our brand is a celebration of a life well lived. We embrace the art of slow living, encouraging you to savor the simple pleasures and find beauty in the everyday. We curate extraordinary journeys that cater to your every desire.
I love it.
I beyond love it. So shout out to everyone who's involved with Traverse. Again, the company's Traverse Culture, and you can find them at tverze.com. And can't wait to have a conversation with the founder about what's happening in Kenya. To me, there's nothing more inspiring than what she is doing in Kenya. It is fantastic. And so while we're talking about tourism and sort of moving to the motherland or having a foothold in the motherland, it is impossible for us to have this conversation without mentioning some significant players in this space.
Yes.
And that is the real South Africa. And on that, I have a little something for you. We've talked about them before, so this actually is for you, so you don't have to jack this one. That actually is for you.
For me.
Yes.
So this is...
What's great about this supplement water?
Yeah.
Is
You're more hydrated than I am.
Is that the water tastes like Kool-Aid.
I love it. This is the great shirt from the real South Africa.
Yes.
Cultural lifestyle. Johannesburg, Cape Town, and Durban.
Durban,
sorry. I love it. First of all, thank you.
You are very welcome.
Wear this.
You are very, very
Absolutely.
welcome.
And, I think, South Africa, I've never been. I've had some colleagues who work down there, and it's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful.
Yes.
It's and the wines, I've actually tried a number of South African wines. The wines are good.
Yes.
A great food scene, I've been told, down there.
Yes.
And
all that.
I'm itching to go.
Yes.
Actually,
so that is why I got you that particular T-shirt right there. I do love South African music, as you know. I mean, I listen to it all the time. And outside of gospel music, it really sort of moves me and touches me probably more than any other music. And so I listen to all these playlists all the time. So I never know what the artist is, and I never know what's actually being said, but for whatever reason, it just still moves me very much.
Right.
And so in regards to the real South Africa, I was actually at Starbucks the other day, not really practicing Ujamaa as I should be.
Unless you're getting your Ethiopian coffee.
I don't think I was, but I was there listening to my South African music, and a sister who I see there from time to time, who knows I like South African music, said to me, said, "Wow, you must really want to go to South Africa." And I was like, bump that. I'm not trying to go to South Africa. I'm going to the real South Africa. I'm going to Blantyre. I'm going to Marktown and Tashaville. That's where I'm going. We are going to do it proper. We're going to keep it real. And when it's all said and done, we're going to come out with some real estate. So big ups to Real South Africa, to Mark and Latasha. Thank you for all that you are doing. Hope that you guys are enjoying your own well-deserved vacation. And God willing, I will see you in the fall. God willing. So again, no one is doing it bigger than the real South Africa.
To me, it's like, I've always wanted to go see Table Mountain.
Yes,
because,
yes.
You know, I consider it to be one of the wonders of the world. And so, and like I said, I remember my colleague sending me a picture of it. I'm like, I've got to get there. And so I love the idea of being able to go and check it out and to go.
Now, one additional thing that I mentioned too in terms of having a foothold in Africa was the idea of either investing in a startup there or becoming part of the ownership team of a Africa-based Black-owned company.
Right.
And so people may say, well, how the heck am I going to do that? Where do I even start if I want to do that? And so there's actually another movement that is coming out of South Africa that is fantastic as well. And it's being led by a sister by the name of Ashley Cleveland.
Okay.
So she runs a platform called Ashley in Africa, Africa with a K, Ashley in Africa. And she is the founder of the Africa Investors Academy. So the Africa Investors Academy is an online community of entrepreneurs from around the world who are building location-independent, service-based businesses for the growth of Africa. So I absolutely love what she's doing.
This sounds incredible.
And as an African American, I literally want to give her a standing ovation. And sometimes, even when I'm watching some of her videos on my own, I actually will give her a standing ovation. It's like, go ahead, Ashley. That is what I'm talking about. Do that thing.
And her tagline is that she's going to teach, that she offers to teach you how to travel, move, and do business in Africa in 12 months or less.
Yes. Absolutely love
Which
it. So
I think, so if you really are interested in doing this, dear listener, I would say, definitely check that out. And that's Ashley in Africa, Africa with a K, .com.
And I think, and again, the point of all of this is to say that all of us in the African diaspora need to have a foothold in the motherland. So whether you're in the United States or Brazil or Haiti or Cuba or Puerto Rico or wherever it is, that is our ancestral homeland, and I do believe we need to have a foothold there. The whole world is going there, extracting mineral wealth, material wealth, et cetera, et cetera. We need to be savvy going forward. Again, 1 out of 4 people will be living in Africa in 2050.
Right.
So big ups to Ashley in Africa, big ups to the real South Africa, big ups to Traverse Culture. Love what they are all doing. So like, share, and subscribe to this channel, but also like, share, and subscribe to those other channels as well. We are all in this together.
And for those of you who are paying attention, as you're reading like the New York Times, it was that group, Ashley in Africa, that was featured as part of the whole Blagsit.
BRICS.
No, Blacksit, where people were like people who were
leaving.
Who were Americans who were emigrating to Africa to escape America.
Yes. Number three on our list: have our children learn an African language. Do you think this moves us forward in any way? Again, keeping in mind that 1 out of 4 people are going to be living in Africa in 2015. Do you see this as something that is going to move us forward into the future that we want to see for ourselves collectively?
Well, number one,
yes,
I think that all children should learn at least one additional language, full stop. It can be whatever that language is. I think that having them learn an African language is certainly valuable. I think takes a little bit more effort, and so you'll have to be more intentional about it. And yet, I think it's worthwhile. Now, my question back to you, my brother, is because, dear listener, dear viewer, Africa just isn't one country. It's dozens of countries with hundreds of languages.
Yea, even 54, and yea, even thousands of languages.
So which one?
Well, as you know, I'm someone who actively pushes and promotes Amharic. And why do I push and promote Amharic?
Here it comes.
Because that's what is spoken in Wakaddis. That is what's spoken in Wakaddis. And what is it? Wakaddis exactly. So Wakaddis is my playful term for Addis Ababa, which is the capital of Ethiopia. So locals there will call it Addis or Addis. And so I've always felt that Addis Ababa will be a place where we might see a real world Wakanda sometime in the near term future. And so instead of Wakanda, I say Wakaddis or Wakaddis, depending on how you want to say it. So Amharic is what is spoken in Wakaddis. And so that is one of the reasons that I actively promote that. Also one of the oldest languages in the world. It's a written language, beautiful language. Not the only language spoken in Ethiopia, by the way. That's so there are several languages spoken there, and all beautiful. Amharic just happens to be the official language, or one of the official languages, the primary official language of the country, and so that's why I've been promoting that one. So I have some more show and tell.
Show and tell.
As in regards to that, so you can't jack this one either, because this is for my daughters. So I have been working on trying to get them on board with. Yes, you can. Yes, you can.
And we had talked about this,
yes,
listener. We had talked about this before, about these My First Word series. So these are my first words in Amharic.
Yes.
And I think this is very cool. And it's a board book, really.
It's beyond cool. It is absolutely awesome.
And
the fact that they have it in so many different languages is awesome.
Right.
Love it. Beyond love it.
And this is put out by Coley and Olum, the publishing house. We've talked about a couple of the African folktale books previously, and so I love this. And I think that I won't jack this from you, even though I really should, because my daughter would love this.
And my daughters would not mind if you jacked it. In all honesty, would not mind at all. They would say, "Oh, Daddy, you let somebody jack our Amharic books? Oh, shucks. Oh, well, darn."
But you know what? I mean, I think children, like any other humans, are going to be resistant to change. And especially, the reason why I said that it would be there's a little bit more friction, and a little bit harder to do that, is that it would be challenging, or not super hard, but you'd have to be intentional about finding a good Amharic teacher. You'd have to be willing.
There are plenty of good Amharic teachers out there, just for the record. One place is the Amharic Academy. We've talked about this before on our audio podcast. You can get that through Sheba's Jewels, the Amharic Academy. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
So there's that. And so you need to have a good teacher. But one of the things that when we chose the languages we're going to use in our house, what language we want the kids to learn, we chose, well, actually it's 3 languages, but it's 2. The school defaults to Spanish.
It does.
Because we live in California.
Yes.
And so Spanish is spoken by a lot of people. But then the other one that we are driving on directly in our house is French. And for those of you who are going to call me up and say, oh, that's a colonizer language, and you're right, it is.
It is.
But it also ties into on my wife's side.
Yes.
My wife's grandmother spoke French Creole fluently. That was her language in the house, and so going to French pulls us to that.
Of course.
Through line. Now, which is not saying that this is a bad idea.
I already know it's not.
Because it's not a bad idea. But the intentionality that I'm talking about is having a good teacher, and then having it actually spoken in your house, which means more than your children learning it, my brother. You get to learn it too.
Right.
And so that is where it takes a little bit more intentionality.
Yes.
Not impossible, not even necessarily all that difficult. You just need to be intentional about it. I think this box of books is great. You know, it's a 3-book set, and it includes I'll open it back up again. It's a 3-book set, and what's great is it's a board book, so it's geared towards. The reason I almost jacked it from you is that it's geared towards little kids, to where it says, Wusha is for.
You can see the letters from the Fidel right there.
You can see the Amharic lettering, and there's a picture that Wusha is a dog. Or over here, Fael is a goat. And so it's very easy, and so this is animals. And so then this next one is, different parts of your body. And so here, of course, I picked one that was going to be hard for me to do. Tisrach is. See, this is why I'm not the native speaker. What he said. Sigur is that the kitchen, or what does that mean? The back of your neck? What does that mean?
What's that, stovetop?
What specifically is that referring to? Help me out.
I'm not sure. It could be it could be the neck. I'm not exactly sure either.
Okay,
so we'll find out. Have to do some investigating.
Investigating on that. So the point is, though, is that this is what you often see, and we actually have them, for English and French, sort of board books that say, here's your nose and here's your ears and everything else. And so I think this is great. I will actually. Have to discuss with my wife which African language we want to learn, and it might be Amharic, just because that way my kids can talk to your kids about it. Because truly, that's really more than anything else is the friction, is simply being able to have other people to speak the language with, so that way it isn't just an exercise. So one last thing on this, you can find out more about this from Koliolum.com. That's KOLIOLUM.com.
And Ada Ari Books. So I also got this from the motherland as well, which I'm extremely excited about. So this is the Fidel. And be careful right here, because it actually broke on
shipping a little bit.
In shipping.
That's all right.
So I may have lost some of the quote unquote letters. These aren't letters in the true sense.
It's a phonetic alphabet.
Syllabary.
What he said.
And so you could see some of these things right here. So as we're learning, we can not just say the words phonetically, but actually sort of put it together. And so again, even if you don't necessarily want to learn the language, this is good for the brain. This is good for brain development.
I mean, you're learning the language.
Puzzle.
Can you write something out for us?
I cannot yet.
Okay.
I cannot yet.
You know what? I think, dear listener, you can hold us accountable to this too. We'll bring back a little magnetic board, and you'll see sky is black and Amharic, and I love it. And so this is from Safari Art, And
So this is our board right
that's
here.
the board right there. So
Yes.
fantastic. And so you can find out more about them. I presume you can do a Google on
So I got this through Amazon.
Amazon, okay. On Amazon.
And so I think I'm going to have to get another one because, again, I may have lost
Some
something along the way there.
the shipping.
Yes. And it's nice to have another one on hand,
set.
too. Yes.
All right.
I should always be moving through the world with this underneath my arm right here.
And here's the thing, and the reason why I think this is all a great idea,
Yes.
especially for children, there are well documented benefits for children, especially during that whole plasticity stage. In other words, when they're really young, of learning additional languages.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And then on top of that, I think learning an African language, I think this is a side topic. So for those of you who go look back on the podcast, you'll catch where they interviewed, us, where we interviewed my wife, Dr. Ashanta Anderson, and talked about the research.
Go Bears.
I know, you're fine. Her primary area of research is on health disparities and talking about how you can get better engagement in the healthcare system. And the intervention she's working on, I think I gave her a shout out. She got funded by the NIH to actually research this because you want children to be healthy. About how using tools that are aimed towards cultural pride can help. By engendering cultural pride, people have more self-confidence. They'll essentially feel better about themselves, which then makes them want to be healthier, which means they're more likely to go and engage the healthcare system, which does benefits to the education. There's known documented benefits. If your health is better, your education is better. If your education is better, your health is better, and it spirals up. Now, I have to say all that, not just to give my wife a shout out, but to say that this, I think, is fantastic.
It is.
Because if you are willing to be intentional about it and put the effort in to drive on an African language, not only do you get the benefits of additional language development, which is good for the kids' development flat out, but rather than learning, I'll pick on my own family, rather than learning French, you're learning an African language, which subconsciously or maybe even consciously helps the kid feel better that, like, oh, these languages are worth my time, are worthy, are co-equal with these other things. And so I think it's fantastic.
It's beyond fantastic, and I think it's really necessary for us as a people.
Even if my kids don't learn this, having the exposure to it, especially early on, I think I can get the cultural pride benefit out of it, and I think just even having, once again, just a little seasoning, a little extra language sprinkled on. I will admit, like I said, I'm not sure. It might be challenging in our family, but I really am supportive of the idea, and will definitely, at a minimum, sprinkle it in.
I think it needs to be more than sprinkled in.
I'm not disagreeing.
I'm not saying sort of just for us in general, as we sort of move the culture forward.
I agree.
And sort of recapture what was stolen from us, what was taken away from us. And so, to me, there's no more empowering or beautiful sound than children in the diaspora whose first language might be English, French, or Spanish, or Portuguese, or something like that, speaking an African language.
Yes.
I mean, there's so much spiritual and cultural victory that goes along with that.
Right.
Because in our enslavement, folks tried to say, you are nothing, you have no history or heritage, your languages are meaningless, your spirituality is meaningless, et cetera, et cetera. And so when we reclaim our languages, and also I think too when we travel back to the motherland, when we actually step foot on the continent, so many great things happen. I literally believe that the ancestors are cheering.
I agree.
So I can't overstate how significant that is. And so, again, 1 out of 4 people will be living in Africa by 2050 in less than 30 years. So much energy and activity is going to be in the motherland. And so I think we need to be especially savvy about preparing children in the diaspora for that reality that is coming around the corner very quickly. So again, it doesn't have to be Amharic. It can be Yoruba, it could be Igbo, it could be, some languages in South Africa, languages in Kenya, et cetera, et cetera. But I just think it is so important, especially to sort of say to the colonizer and to the enslaver that, all of your ongoing orchestrated evil has not won and will not win. All right, so number four, team 4,
Yes.
is to support and sustain future-facing storytelling.
Yes.
Do you think that is something that actually pushes us forward into a future that we collectively want for ourselves?
Yes.
How so?
Well, one, in terms of the consumption of media, it goes back to that whole, even for us as adults, that whole cultural pride thing. I mean, people in the Black diaspora, including on this podcast, we talk about, the impact of just seeing Black Panther on the big screen.
Yes.
Did. And the beauty is that the marketplace responded. If the original Black Panther was a flop because we're like big conglomerate colonizer, whatever, and we decided to right or wrong take a principled stand about it and say we're not going to do it, and or for whatever reason, or if it had been bad and it flopped, then there would have been no second one, and it would have been done. And so, A, it was great, and B, the marketplace responded, and so. You're hydrating with that.
Yes, indeed.
Good. We're going to talk about that, I think, in a minute. That's part of your number 5 with wellness. Stay hydrated. See, it sounds much more refreshing than when I was drinking out of this bottle here.
It is.
So,
can't lie to you. It is.
So, I think it does move us forward because if property one, movie, book, whatever, is successful, the marketplace is going to respond and then continue on in that fact, because all those places they're chasing the money, right? And same thing with Disney. You've got the 2 Black Panther movies. You've got Kazazimoto. You've got what's the other one? Waju. Thank you for that. And I'll admit, because I'm sure Disney tracks my clicking and all that. We watched all of them, and the idea and the hope is that they'll say, "Hey, this is what's keeping these subscription dollars flowing in." And so let's tell more of those stories. And then as you tell more of those stories, like in particular with Waju and Kazazimoto, those Waju in particular was a African-based animation team.
Yes.
And
Lego, stand up.
That's right. And so then after a while, if with a little bit of Disney helping them get going, they're going to produce content that is for the Nigerian market that may not even be for the American market. But all that money and all those efforts and all that is coming, and those dollars are recycling within an African country, which helps lift them up, as opposed to them consuming content that was generated from outside.
But we're also not necessarily depending on Disney to provide the kind of African storytelling
that's not what I'm
that
saying.
we want and need.
No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying, though, is that for those of us in particular, so forgive me for being jingoistic, but for those of us who are in America, but for those of us, we have the opportunity to pursue that content anyway, because odds are, if you're a parent, at least of small kids, you're going to be subscribed to Disney Plus. I'm not sure. I'll admit I resisted for years, and had to cave in. And so, but they're still going to track what movies you're watching. And what content you're perusing, and so then they know, at least for our household, that we've done Moana, and which I love, by the way, just to be clear.
Away, away.
It's actually, it's funny you said that. That is my favorite.
That's my jam right there.
That is my favorite song.
That's
on the
my
whole
jam.
Soundtrack.
Away, away. We'll set a course to find.
You give me
everywhere we
that
know.
is so
That's
fabulous.
the jam. Yeah.
That is truly, from the first time I saw that movie to because of course we now have it on repeat. But that is so fabulous.
That used to be when my daughters were young, that was our pickup from school song. So they'd hop in the car and I would sort of blast that. Away, away.
I love it. I really do, because I bought the extended version of the soundtrack and everything. So of course you're going to have that. But then if you get Owaju kind of riding along and you click that and you show it and the kids enjoy it, and then Disney's tracking that, and it's like, hey,
they're tracking.
Here's what's happening there, and so my point is that not that we need Disney, but Disney has a lot of resources, and Disney has a large audience baked in, and so by having that content there, it exposes this animation team. To that larger audience they wouldn't get otherwise. And my point is that it allows them to sort of kickstart themselves. I mean, they're already going with, Disney found them, they were an existing team. But allows them to get the kind of effort forward. And because I'll admit, because I had never heard of that animation team previously. And so now if somehow, I guess I'll have to be a little bit intentional and get on their mailing list, because then they come back and say, oh, by the way, downloadable on Netflix from the same animation team that brought you Owaju comes this movie, fill in the blank. I'm more likely to see it. And so it moves them forward, which moves all of us forward, because, the Owaju story, it was not atypical of younger or tweens type stories. The setting was fantastic. Some of the specifics were fantastic. And
when it was all said and done, I'm a huge fan of it.
Yeah.
Had some issues, episode 2 and 3 had some issues. By the end, it's huge.
Fine. Yeah, no,
huge fan.
we loved it.
Yes.
I'm hoping that it's going on to season 2, because it's season 1. So we watched the whole thing.
Yep.
And so my point is that sort of thing. So for those of you who haven't listened to the episode, dear listener, viewer, Owaju is set in Lagos, but a future Lagos. So it's a story about these two kids, but set in a future Lagos. And so does it move us forward? Yes. Much in the same way that seeing Wakanda, saying, what would it be like to see an African city that had never been colonized, that had high technology in it? But even seeing Lagos, which actually in that series had huge wealth disparities. But seeing that, okay, we'll run it out to the year 2050 or 2080, whatever it's set. Have that still, you won't erase those disparities, but then move it ahead. I think that still moves us forward and as a storytelling venue. And once again, it actually warmed my heart to see, a future Lagos. And this is from someone who's never been. So yes, and books, things like that. We haven't talked about it, and we won't have time today. But I mentioned obliquely that I'm rereading Parable of the Talents. Which is set in 2024, which is why I'm reading it when it kicks off. So you'll upset yourself because it's a dystopian thing, but read it anyway if you haven't, or read it again even if you have. But my point is that I was happy to go and support the ongoing legacy of Octavia E. Butler. I was actually happy to support it very intentionally by buying the book from our nearby Octavia's bookshelf. And so, but once again, the marketplace drives that. And so because of that, those books being set in the year 2024, if Amazon's metrics or I guess Ingram or whoever the publishing house, the wholesaling and the publishing places are all able to track the metrics, and then all of a sudden they see here is this long-standing black author, black science fiction author, and they see that those numbers are up and that there's a market there. That way, when some guy or gal that I've never heard of is pitching a black speculative fiction book, they likely some bean counter somewhere is going to look and say, well, that actually might work.
But again, same thing that applies to books. Can't rely on white-owned companies to validate and bring into the world and economically sustain black storytelling.
It's not about the validation because they can self-publish and go with God.
Vaya con Dios.
And I mean, shout out to Etan Comics, who's essentially self-published.
Yes.
And so, and we love that, and we recommend that highly.
Yes.
But my point is that I as a business owner and maybe I'm projecting, I want. And I believe these businesses have incredible stories to tell and incredible things to share that is interesting and entertaining to a wider audience than just us.
But we can also be the ones who get the economic benefit from it as well.
Yes, of course.
So I mean, in a big picture, in terms of going forward, what is going to sustain us and get us to the place where we want to be, it is not relying on these other companies. They can get sort of a secondary benefit, but the main benefit needs to be ours. It needs to be driven by us. I maintain that.
I'm not disagreeing with you. But my point is that. But I think it is. Why not use the levers of power, the channels of power, the distribution conduits that are in power to your benefit?
Right, because those are the same doors, the same levers of power that can say no.
Correct.
So I mean, we can sort of beg and plead. Please say yes. Please say yes.
But I'm not saying you beg and plead.
They have the power to say no, and so we need to.
But that's true. But that's true for everybody.
Right. Well, we need to have institutions and structures and businesses that get us to yes and facilitate the kind of storytelling that we want to see in the world.
Okay. Well, then part of our homework is to get some other black publishing houses out there and let you, your listener, know about it. In the meantime, in the meantime,
yes,
do I want NK to not be a successful author? I want her to absolutely be a successful author. Sell all the books through Ingram distribution and through her publishing house as possible. And she's not self-publishing. So, I mean, I want to still promote her books and still read it and hope that it gets turned into a movie. And that movie isn't going to be made by her. It's going to be run through Warner Brothers or whoever it is. And so my point is that I'm still going, and the reason why I'm still going to buy that book through whatever channel, but my local bookstore in reality, but the local bookstore is buying it through a primary distribution channel. And so my point is that when someone says, hey, I want to make a movie about this NK book, the city we became, we want to make a movie out of it. Someone, some actuary, some accountant is going to run the numbers. And when they run the numbers, the numbers are going to look less favorable if NK had been self-publishing and didn't have as many numbers as she might otherwise have. But if it's like, oh yeah, this has been on the New York Times seller list and has X number of sales, that there's an audience already there for her work. And so therefore, and yes, of course they can choose not to greenlight the movie, but my whole point is that if we support future-facing storytelling through whatever channel that it's available, whether we're talking through your streaming plan, through books, through plays, whatever, support it, because the numbers will speak for themselves. So that way, when the next person says, well, I want to take a shot on this, they'll say, okay, the numbers back it up. So you're not so much going to your point, not even so much begging and pleading, saying, oh, please, may I please have this crumb? It's more like, hey, I've got a great idea that's going to make you money. And everyone listens to that.
They do. And I'm not saying that it's a either or situation. Most things are both and, but still, black storytelling needs to reside ultimately in black hands, and that needs to be the model going forward.
Yes, well, I agree with you. I say we aim towards that. Meanwhile, buy from, spend your money on those stories through whatever channel is available.
Yes, but sort of look at a different example. If you and I are, say you and I are Warner Brothers, it's sort of a black-owned company, but all of we're putting our attention into Korean storytelling, and folks from Korea are sort of coming out to us saying, please fund our Korean stories. At some point or another, they're going to say, this is ridiculous. Why am I asking these Negroes for anything to do the stories that we want to do ourselves? And so that model, while it's a real world one and realistic, and is one that we have to contend with today, is not the ultimate model that we should be working toward. Well, black storytelling needs to be in black hands. So NK should not have to rely on a benevolent, non-black person to see her work move forward. Ultimately, we need to sort of build structures so that we're able to do those things on our own, and then other people can partner with us, but not necessarily hold the levers of power, and not have the green light to shut us down.
Yes, but as you're starting, I'll use someone as an example. You look at Tyler Perry. Tyler Perry now has his own studio, and we're delighted about that. We'll talk about that more some other time. But he didn't start off with his own studio. He started off making movies that were distributed through the mainstream channels.
He actually started off making plays and came to Hollywood with a whole different kind of power than most people do. It's like, I don't need your money. It's like, if you want to partner with me, you can. But I'm not coming to you like, I'm not begging. I have a proven model already. But his proven model was proven economically through black people. So the plays that he was doing were in black churches in the Chitlin circuit around the country, making money. So he was already well paid and well established before he even came to Hollywood. So he came from a position of power, which, again, if we take that model for books and TV series and everything else, we can actually sort of do well within our own community and then allow other people to partner with us to take it to a different kind of place. But Tyler Perry did not need anybody to give him the green light to do what he wanted to do.
He needed somebody to greenlight his movie because it was made and distributed through the more traditional channels.
Yes,
he came from a good position.
No, he definitely came from a good position.
But I don't see how that invalidates my point. My point is that you begin wherever you can begin, and you make an impact in the marketplace through whatever channels are available.
I don't disagree.
And keep your eye on the prize.
I don't disagree with that. I'm just sort of saying, in big picture, philosophically speaking, black storytelling needs to be facilitated by black people.
Yes. So, ladies and gentlemen, yes, it does move us forward. Get it through whatever channel you can, so that way we can have our own publishing houses and studios and major distribution channels.
Right, and we do have them. We just need to, again, going forward, be conscious and deliberate about what we're doing, in the same way that we're being conscious and deliberate about the small things that we're doing here. Yes. Getting some Emblem olive oil, getting some Shea Moisture, getting some Amharic Fidel letters, some language books, et cetera, water bottle. So just being conscious and deliberate in those small choices actually make a difference. So if we all get on the bandwagon and get our heads straight, we're going to sort of move forward more powerfully, in my estimation.
And you're pointing to your water bottle, and that brings you to number 5.
Are you moving us along here?
Yes.
I see that. So again, going back to the previous point, though, I don't think that it's an either or. I think it's a both and situation.
I agree.
So I'm not disparaging Disney. I'm just not sort of putting Disney in a place where they don't belong as it relates to our black storytelling.
But I am saying watch or wazoo.
As am I.
Okay.
As am I. All right. So number five was pursuing personal wellness. Now, do you think this is something that can move us forward, again, collectively into the future that we want to see for ourselves? If so, how so? And if not, why not?
Well, yes. You can't make it to the future if you don't make it.
True.
So full stop. No, full stop.
So the point that I was sort of making with having this on the list to begin with is saying that we want to go into the future with the best version of ourselves.
Yes.
So we don't want to go into the future with garbage and drama and scars and all those things. We want to be well as we go high-stepping and stomping into Wakaddis, or high-stepping and stomping into wherever our victory parade is leading us.
Yes.
Again, just want to be the best version of ourselves. And that, if we do so, just makes us better across the board. So better friends, better life partners, better parents, better neighbors, better citizens, better people, everything.
I agree. And because to me, the wellness ties in all the other things we've been talking about. Because if you are doing better economically, because you're supporting black businesses, or you're buying, long term, each one of us can do our little part to then make sure we're all doing better economically. And if you're doing better economically, you're going to, your health is going to be better in most cases.
Most cases, for sure.
Excuse me.
Bless you.
If there is a documented health benefit to feeling safe and secure, that reducing that stress on you. And so, by going back to your other point, establishing a foothold in Africa, and the things we've talked about were all things dealing towards financial security, or leisure in terms of tourism, getting a chance to get out of the daily grind, and both of those things will have extant benefits to your health. And then 3, when we talk about languages, that also has benefits, in particular to your children's health, but also there have been documented health benefits to keeping your mind engaged as we get older. The more you do to stay mentally engaged, and so I might be, even though it'll be harder for me as a grown adult to learn Amharic or whatever language, me embarking on that journey is good for my mental health and good for my brain. And then, same thing with regards to thinking about the future. It's been well documented that if you think that the future looks brighter for you, that you will be more inclined to pay better attention to your health, as well as be actually healthier. And so, by engaging and participating in future-facing storytelling and stories, that will also have extant benefits to your health. And so, personal wellness to me is the bow that wraps up all of the things we've talked about, because we have our supplement water, staying hydrated, taking care of ourselves, looking after our children, taking care of our finances, keeping the money together, being engaged in the larger world. And that's not all of it. It's not a comprehensive list.
No, it's not. It wasn't meant to be.
But it does move us forward. So the answer is yes.
One additional thing that I've been thinking about lately, and this comes in the aftermath of seeing the Book of Clarence on Netflix, which we will talk about at some point. Very interesting. But there's a line in there, and I won't ruin the movie for you, but there's a line that is repeated twice, and it's "Hold the space." Hold the space. Hold the space. And so there's a lot that goes into that particular line, and I think it means a lot of different things. But one of them is, for us, we need to fully occupy the spaces in which we find ourselves, where we live, and where we work. And so I have just subscribed to a new magazine. So as you know, my favorite magazine of all time, far and away, has been Black Enterprise.
Yes.
So shout out and rest in peace and power to our brother Earl Graves. But another magazine that I've also loved for so many years is Architectural Digest.
Yes.
Huge fan of Architectural Digest. And so that may help you sort of understand why I subscribed to this.
All right.
Ladies and gentlemen, a cardboard box.
Yeah, a lot of unboxing video here.
Yes.
So this is Afro Chic, a cultured lifestyle magazine.
Yes.
And take a look at that. Beautiful, one of our beautiful sisters right there on the cover. And
it is awesome.
It is city stories, food, culture, interior design, mood. They've got these beautiful look pages that will tell you about different things as a look, kind of these style guides, and how you set the scene. By the way, shout out to Nicholas Smith with that book, That Flag, which is definitely a great thing, and I love it. And how often does this come out?
Comes out quarterly, so it's going to be a couple weeks, or actually a couple months before I get my next issue. But it still gives me plenty of time on the weekends to
great food,
weekends to read an article or two over the weekend. So I will certainly get through all of this by the time the next issue comes out. But it definitely relates to wellness. I mean, how do we go about sort of living our lives?
Soul Food Kitchen. They're profiling Chris Scott, who is the guy I just showed you a moment ago. His book is called Homage, Recipes and Stories from an Amish Soul Food Kitchen. Okay, we're going to figure out how to get all these together. That is just amazing.
So extremely excited about this magazine. And again, we need to be mindful of the spaces that we occupy to bring the fullness of who we are into the spaces. It definitely affects our wellness. When we're in spaces that look like that and feel like that, I can only speak for myself. I feel more empowered, feel more at peace, feel more at home.
Agreed.
As we sort of look out into the future out there, I mean, it's really not sort of for us, it's for our children. And so the vision of your son and daughter and my daughters out there walking into a future that we have prepared for them is what this platform is all about, yes. Which is what we all need to be about. And so just this vision of them sort of running and playing as the magical, marvelous, beautiful, melanated, just a gorgeous patchwork of pure vibranium blackness. That is what we want. That is what we're working toward. And so if we can find some wellness within ourselves, they can go into the future without the scars that we have in our souls and our minds and spirits. And so we don't want them to take on generational anger. We don't want them to take on generational anxiety. We don't want them to take on generational sort of fear or generational self-hatred or self-doubt. We want them to sort of be free, strong, and rooted going forward. Truly, truly free.
These 5 things really do move us forward and allow us to have the kind of future that we want for ourselves and the future that we want for our children. And really that future is what we're about. We highlight experts, innovators, and entrepreneurs of Black African descent spanning the worldwide African diaspora. And the focus today, which a little bit of a twist for those of you who are our regular listeners and viewers, but is really to make sure we all make it. I meant what I said.
Yes.
That if there isn't a future if you don't make it, and that's what we're about. We're thankful for you for watching and listening to us. Please give us your feedback. Please tell me more about some of these good vacation places. If you're an African realtor or other products that we can try out, you're moving me forward on this whole moisturizing thing because my hands have been glorious this entire time. You can reach me at Anton at skyisblack.com.
And you can reach me at bfrancisclark at skyisblack.com.
You can go to our website, in particular, go to recollect.media/skyisblack. You can go to skyisblack.com. You can find us on Instagram and Threads and Twitter at
skyis_B to the L to the C to the K.
And then on Facebook, Sky is
_B to the L to the C to the K.
So please reach out to us. We're thankful for you watching and listening.
Yes.
And come back for some fried shrimp. I'll figure out which one of these words lines up with the word shrimp. I'll be smelling good, and I'll definitely be moisturized. I wash my hands. Part of the reason why my hands are ashy is that I'm always washing my hands constantly. I don't like my fingers being sticky when I'm cooking, and so I'm always washing my hands and drying out my skin. So this has been fabulous. So Sky is moisturized.
Yes, indeed. Sky is emblem.
Sky is emblem. Sky is Coleolam.
Sky is kingship.
Sky is shea butter. Oh, sorry, shea moisture.
Sky is Wakaddis.
Sky is black.
Semi-Tacorno.